Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have Kaitlyn Bristowe addressing her breakup. I did not think we'd have this happen so soon after Jason Tartick addressed their breakup yesterday. Of course, they released a statement Sunday afternoon announcing their breakup to their fans and supporters. Of course, they had sort of discussed their breakup with friends and family first, and now she's on her podcast, Off the Vine. I'm going to share it with you guys right now. We're going to jump right into this. It might be the best 20 minutes you're going to hear from Kaitlyn and her guest, Jenny Wise Black. Her guest essentially says you got to drop the cell phone. She's a therapist who has studied the harmful effects of cell phones and social media and doom scrolling and all of that. And she confronts Kaitlyn. She calls her out. She says, I'm going to give you the best advice that you're not going to take. And Kaitlyn challenges her and says, I'm going to do it. And Kaitlyn, so far, there she is, BRB Healing on her Instagram. She hasn't posted anything on social media. And who knows how long it'll go. But here's what she has to say about her breakup. Have a listen.
Because I'm going through something right now where I'm going through a breakup with someone I was engaged to. Now, we both are public figures. We both came from the same show. We have all these followers who we've let in, and we've invited them into our lives and our relationship and our home and what we're doing morning, afternoon, night. It's become part of like business, but also I feel like I'm supposed to entertain. I love using my phone to entertain. But now I've gotten to this point where something like going through a breakup it's a loss. It's grief. You're going through like the thought of losing somebody, all of these big emotions. And now these people are on the other end of this phone expecting you to share it with them while you're going through it. And then they think, you're hiding something from us. Why wouldn't you be honest? I thought you were an open book. I thought you were this. And just tell us already that you guys are broken up. And I'm holding so much responsibility because I see them as this community that I've built for myself. And it is affecting my mental health so much, even though I have the logistic side of my brain that goes, these people have their own things going on. They have their own traumas. They have their own dark places. They're looking to me for an escape. Like, this isn't reality. You have to give yourself time first before you give strangers on the internet time, no matter how much you think they're your community or family. But then my other side goes, oh my gosh, they hate me. I'm going to lose all the support and people are judging me and they think it's just all me and it's my fault. And I'm like, my brain is like, here's the logic of everything, and then here's the emotion, and I am finding myself in the middle of that.
I just want to cry.
So the more you hear the description of what social media is, the more you feel that Frankenstein, that beast that is created. It has given Kaitlyn Bristowe all of the riches of life, and it's also been a bully that's in the pocket. And I think a lot of people can understand what that is like, and you have to cope with it because audiences might say, oh, we made you who you are. And then that entitlement thing we've talked about for a long time exists. We've seen someone like Tayshia Adams essentially take her connection with her fan base out. She said, I can't do it for my own mental health. She sort of just lives her life, and the people follow it. They get the entertainment. She lives her life. Kaitlyn is coping with that relationship as she battles what she can share for her own mental health.
I just want to cry.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Like, having been through some really tough breakups, that's so painful and hard.
So painful.
And it's also interesting after watching yesterday's conversation that Jason Tartick had with his audience, where he had something like 7 seconds of dead air because he was so choked up. The second time he was trying to film his intro, he broke down the first time. His was sounding more heartbreaking. Kaitlyn's sounds more analytical, but they're both processing things in their own way. It doesn't mean she's any less heartbroken. She's just keeping it together in this moment,
without having to manage anybody else's thoughts,
right,
or opinions about it. So like on a deeply personal level, I'm just like,
I know.
So what you need to know is I only have 5 definitions of media trauma right now. Mm-hmm. Part of that was the cleverness of MEDIA, and we were able to come up with one for each letter.
Right.
But you are helping me know a new one.
Really?
This is the 6th one. So this is like my heart, like I'm in 2 places. Like I'm feeling for you just on a deeply personal human girl level.
Yeah.
And then the therapist in me is like,
yeah.
So I'll just tell you, because there's so many people going through it. I'm just going to tell you what I would tell any client in my office.
Listen up.
Surely you've experienced certain levels of trauma from being in media.
Yes.
That we haven't even touched on. That you've probably talked about on your shows, or maybe you've only talked about in your therapy.
Right.
And we'll see comments on this YouTube video that we're making right now of people that don't understand. What are you talking about? I have a bad job. She doesn't know what it's like. Listen, everyone's going through trauma. But if you haven't been in the public eye, if you haven't been an influencer and lived that lifestyle, you don't know what trauma they're going through. You can still have your own trauma. We don't need to have a trauma measuring contest here.
I've talked about it all everywhere.
Okay, but the point being, there's no one who's in the public eye that doesn't have a visceral reaction to the term media trauma from the inside. Right? So just the whole idea of even getting canceled, or the fear of being canceled, is its own, like, that's like a modern day version of getting excommunicated.
Right.
Or the fear of the algorithm no longer recommending your content, the fear of TikTok getting deleted, and that's where you make all your money. I mean, it's the lack of control that exists.
Right. It's incredibly traumatic. Mm-hmm. Other than being physically harmed, it's about, and maybe even a more traumatic thing.
Right.
So that's real. But it is so easy to forget that you don't owe anybody anything. But the problem is you built this. It's kind of your Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
You built the monster, you fed the monster, and then at any given time that monster can eat you, right? And what is so important, every time I get in this conversation, there's always...
And by the way, just to further comment on the idea of you don't owe anybody anything, she has given so much to her fan base, to her audience, whether it be through entertainment or information. They consume that. She doesn't owe them anything. The transaction's done. No receipts. The transaction is done. She can fall off the face of the planet, whatever. She is done. She owes them nothing. Just like an artist, a musician doesn't owe their audience anything. You bought the music because you felt good listening to it, okay? You came to the stand-up show because you wanted to laugh. You joined the podcast because you needed entertainment while you were doing your job. She doesn't owe anyone anything. The transaction is done.
Someone that says, well, I mean, there's got to be a way we can balance out. Like social media and our personal lives and whatever, as long as we know who we are and that this isn't the real us or whatever. And I have this like strong reaction of, you cannot balance it.
Yeah.
You can't, because anyone who's listening to this knows, you scroll through your Instagram and you can see 10,000 beautiful, amazing things. You can have 10,000 beautiful, amazing things said about you. And then one thing can be said, and it's like, it's not an amount of time that balances itself out, right?
Right.
She's calling Kaitlyn out in the nicest way. She's doing something probably none of her friends and close family would do, which is saying you cannot balance it. You cannot win. You cannot beat the algorithm and the system created by scientists and casino programmers and all of the people. You cannot beat them at their game, which is, we're going to give you some love. We're going to take that love away. You can't win.
So that being said, I do not believe there's a way you can balance it at all. And I think that the very best, the only good thing that you can do is put it in the proper order. Yeah. And I don't think you'll listen to me. I don't think anybody will listen to me who has like a legitimate following. I really don't. So you could prove me wrong.
I hope to, but I don't know.
When you go through a personal loss, you need to go dark for as long as you need to go dark. And, in the Jewish tradition, during times of grief, they would cover mirrors And for two reasons. One, you're not supposed to be thinking about yourself right now.
Right.
But two, so you don't have to see yourself in pain.
Oh, that's sad.
Right. Right. And so if what I want to say to you is, if you want to be someone who has something to offer the public,
Yes.
it will be essential for you to go dark for times, as long as you need to be a whole person to come back and have anything to offer.
So interesting, right? Just the idea, when you're on a flight, you got to put the mask on your own face first. You can't protect your kids if you pass out. You need to take care of yourself, and that's what Jenny Wise Black is describing here. Now, this conversation is very different than the one Jason had. Like I mentioned, it's less about why her relationship failed and more about the recovery aspect of the relationship. But I think that's fantastic. There are people that are listening, maybe with your jaw dropped, that this is going to relate to. So many different moments during this episode. It's very rare I listen to a full episode before I recap it here. Please run, don't walk over there and listen to the full thing. There's so many moments we can't control. She talks about the fact that because we're glued to our phone, we're changing the way our eyes work. The muscles in our eyes are losing peripheral vision. She talks about the fact that kids are suffering from attachment disorders because in the moments where you're supposed to be bonding with your child while you breastfeed, you're looking at your phone instead. Now, I know we've got audience out there. I know, guys, you're probably listening to or watching this video now while you breastfeed. And there are, I say this, luckily, I do think my content creating on YouTube is different than an influencer who doom scrolls all the time. I think it's different because making content isn't necessarily being down the rabbit hole of all the negativity. I get there. I doom spiral just like everybody else. I'm not saying I'm not immune to this right here, but I'm just saying we lose track of those moments. You ever walk down the street after forgetting your phone and you're just looking at things you didn't notice because you're no longer plugged in? You ever go on a ride where you're just listening to good music? Consuming some good music is very different than just seeing a million different people's success stories and negative comments about the way you look and how the Botox hits you and this and that. So we need to regain that control in our lives, really. All right, I'm going to share several other clips. She actually calls Kaitlyn. She kind of called Kaitlyn out there and said, I don't think you're going to do what I'm recommending, but this is what you need to do. And Kaitlyn said, maybe you're right, but then she also said, maybe I'm going to prove you wrong.
If you were my client and I was currently going through a breakup, and you're like, I'm going through this breakup, whatever. In the therapeutic relationship, the rules are I don't disclose my breakup until I'm through, like until I've ended the grief process.
Okay.
Because what happens in that moment is then it becomes about I can't see, and now you're worried about me and whatever. If you're my friend, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're my friend, I'm not going to be like,
Right.
So in the position of being an influencer, the same is true. Don't share it until you have worked through it. And it's not because you're keeping secrets or you're hiding. It's because you will show up in a way that becomes more harmful to you and to other people if you haven't come to the end of your process, right?
Now, this is very fascinating because we don't know when she filmed this conversation here, but we do know that we can only imagine for the last several weeks they've been dealing with the grief of their breakup. And I'm not saying 2 weeks is enough grief after a 4-year relationship, failed engagement, this and that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But if they did get a chance to go on separate vacations with their family, laugh, love, cry, all the quotes you see on some ladies, kitchen countertop in Nashville. I'm calling you out, Deborah. But if that's the case, then good on her for releasing this, and the comments are turned off on this video. The comments are turned off on her social media. That's a start. Now, my advice, like I would say for Kaitlyn, is she has the resources. She has multiple assistants and producers and people that work with her, or at least an assistant. They're full-time people, I believe. Give them the phone. Give them the accounts. Give them the passwords. If a job opportunity comes up, at least in the back of your head, you'll know, all right, I won't be missing out on this. So you take care of that, because so often we use our phone for work that Kaitlyn gets called out in this interview where Kaitlyn goes, but I use my phone for work. And then Jenny says, yeah, but 80% of the time, probably 95% of the time, we're not doing work. We're consuming. And you cannot create and consume at the same time.
Right? If you're still not in the middle. And when you're in the middle. That doesn't take a professional.
Now I'm kind of laughing at myself because I'm like, I said I'd go dark. I was like, I'm in for like a couple days. But you're saying like you should do that until you are healed from, if you're going to talk about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Why can't Kaitlyn have her like take a photo, send it to her assistant, post it on Instagram if you need to do that, or she can make podcasts. You can have This isn't having long form conversations in the podcasting world is not the issue. Texting your friends is not the issue. So you could have a dumb phone that does phone calls and text your friends. Heck, you could have a phone if there's a way to have a phone that can still get you to where you need to go, your GPS, that can be something where you can look up something in Google something. If you take away the apps where the doom scrolling exists, I think you could survive on these things. I think that's possible because no one's on there. No one's like, oh, I just spent 3 hours on my phone looking up different types of koi fish. No, that's not what you do. You just go through the random overload of people that you don't know. Now, just to paraphrase, she asked Kaitlyn, how many people would you let into your home out of the 2 million Instagram followers? She said 50. Then she asked Kaitlyn, how many people would you let into your bedroom out of those 50 that you know? She said 20. And by the way, when I met Kaitlyn and did a tour of the house, I didn't go in the bedroom, so I'm not one of the 20. That's for sure. And also, she works from home, so it's not like I was invited over. There was a business, right? Though she did give us a bottle of wine, so thank you so much. We love Off the Vine. Spade and Sparrows. And then Jenny says, of the 20 people you would let into your bedroom, how many would you let into your bed? She said 1. And so then Jenny said, then why, when we're scrolling social media, do we do it in our bed, in our most intimate place, in our jammies with the hairnets on and the curls and the eye creams, when we're supposed to feel guarded, when we're supposed to feel open and in love and feeling all those safe feelings of being in the nest, in the den there? Why do we, are those the times where we scroll and this and that? And look, you guys know this. You know this. Starting on January 1st, I didn't bring my cell phone into the bedroom. I haven't. I have not brought it in. And it has made a world of a difference. It doesn't mean I don't doom scroll every now and then or catch myself looking at things that make me feel bad, but I have certainly taken away that weapon of waking up first thing in the morning and consuming myself with despair. One more clip. Again, guys, you got to go watch the full thing. You got to watch it and take notes. We're going to get to the very end here. So many fascinating moments here, eye-opening moments. And again, this therapist has quit practicing therapy on a one-on-one level because what she noticed was every client that came in, she couldn't help them because all of their issues were so all over the place because of cell phones that she started saying, I can't even address your issues until you detach from the phone. And now she's like, you know what? I think her podcast is called Lose the Phone, right? Now she's like, she's just dealing on a bigger level of the idea of how harmful the phone can be. Here's our final clip.
Social media it promises to give you everything, right?
Yeah.
It can give you everything.
Yeah.
And it will take everything away from you. It will cost you everything to get everything social media has to give you.
That is deep and true.
But, okay, I was thinking, there's a Thomas Merton quote. Do you know who Thomas Merton
No, but I'm excited.
was? He was a monk that's now very famous. Monks aren't famous, but he wrote a lot in the monastery, which is, I think, in Kentucky. And one of his, I think he died in the 60s.
Okay.
And one of his quotes is, the more you make of yourself, the less you actually exist.
Wow. So the way that Kaitlyn's reckoning with her breakup, obviously it's for her to cope with and learn from and all that. But you say, how does this relate to Jason? Well, because you're talking about a couple whose careers are built partially on their devices. And that's a very tough place to cope with. When you're on vacation, are you truly detached? When you're out to dinner, are you truly detached? You know, we have, my wife and I don't say any of this, like I say, from a place with a moral superiority. It's a struggle we've had where you guys know the whole saying when a man and his wife or whoever, whatever the relationship is, when both people are on the couch scrolling, then one person stops scrolling and then the other one's still scrolling. You're like, why are you on your phone so much? It's always like one of those, just that complicated. We've always said there needs to be a red flag that can pop up when you're actually doing work, because we don't know if we're doing work or wasting time. You can't see what the other person's doing all the time. Sometimes it starts off as work and then it becomes wasting time. I'm telling you guys right now, Kaitlyn as an influencer, as a content creator, is using herself as an example, but we all have this issue. We all have this issue. I've seen it with parents. I was actually at an outdoor mall the other day with my wife, and I was laughing. We were eating froyo, which, by the way, for some reason, Tasha thinks froyo is healthier. It's not. It's still not healthy. Anyway, I'm off sugar now, feeling fantastic. Eating a lot of pistachios. My fingernails are all busted. So we're there, and I see these two kids, 3 years old and 5 years old, and they're both they have an iPad in front of them, and they're just playing video games, which maybe is actually less harmful than doom scrolling, but either way, they're attached to their devices. Then you look over and you see both parents on their phones, and you go, if this isn't a moment for family bonding, they're doing back to school shopping, they're in the food court, if this isn't a moment to ask your kid how their day was, or what did they learn today, or these types of things, then when is that moment? If not now, then when? How many beating heart moments are we wasting wondering what other people are up to? That's the question we have to ask. So we're going to get more from Kaitlyn probably about her relationship in the future. But right now, how blessed of us to get a gift of this information, which is learning about the toxicity of social media and how that's applied to not just navigating and managing your own life, but of course your the life you have with your partner, or, when things end, recouping from that. Hey, do me a solid. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I have stand-up show updates coming up August 17th in Huntington Beach, August 24th in Seattle. Also, the link for the teacher appreciation is right there. You can go see our teachers today. There's an Amazon wish list. You can go donate a little bit if you want. Hey, it feels good for the soul. We'll be back at 10 a.m. for the Patreon live stream. If you want private, behind-the-scenes bonus content, we'll be there discussing this breakup even more. And if you want to have someone to hang out with during your workday, patreon.com/Dave Neal. All right, we'll be back right after this.